Mike, you got something?
Yeah, you mentioned the regime there, Earl, and this wasn't necessarily on the rundown, but I wanted to ask you guys this real quick. G, I know you tweeted about it yesterday, but if anyone missed it, Joe Flacco went out and had another monster game for the Cincinnati Bengals. He threw for 450-plus yards, 4 touchdowns.
Jeez.
I believe he had 2 interceptions, the second one coming on that last Hail Mary attempt. G, I'll just let you start because I know you tweeted about this, but going off the regime, is Flacco's success in Cincinnati maybe I don't say nail in the coffin, but like the final indictment you could have against Kevin Stefanski here?
It's so crazy because, look, I totally understand that there's a level of difference between what the Browns have at wide receiver and what they got. I mean, I can't tell you the chasm isn't big enough. The chasm is like it's inexplicable. Like it's the largest gap of talent that is probably in the league, right? You know who they got at receiver. However, the problem is I'm watching how Joe Flacco is maneuvering, and I'm watching him throw the ball downfield, and I'm watching him do some of the same things that I saw him do here prior to that. I'm watching and seeing how he moving. And when you got your quarterbacks and you got your offense that's struggling to get 100 yards or a little 150, and then you see a dude that was out here that you saw with your own eyes being checked down Charlie, and he goes somewhere else and has not had an offseason, nothing, and he just come out and throw him for 400 something. It was 3, then it's 4, 11 touchdowns. That hits you right in the face, and it's hard to be like, we couldn't get this man. We can't with our offense. We can't get nothing jump started. We can't get 100, 200 yards, right? So you gonna look at that, and it's in the division. So it's like, to me, I got to figure this out because I told when this happened and Mike Tomlin said what he said. So I got to ask Jason. It's hard for me to believe that that both of these people in the organization, Kevin and Andrew Berry, was both on point and both saying that they should trade Joe Flacco.
I don't think Kevin wanted to trade him. I think when you mentioned Tomlin, I think Tomlin was sticking up for Kevin because, again, I mentioned this before, Mike and Kevin spent a year together in Minnesota. I think there's more of a relationship there than people realize, and there's a respect factor both ways, more than people realize. No, I don't. This is tricky because I don't think you want an echo chamber between head coach and front office. Mm-hmm. That's bad. When everybody's always in agreement and everybody always sees things the same way, I don't think that's healthy. I think you need to have pushback. I was talking to someone about this week in a different sport about it, and the way it was put to me, and this isn't groundbreaking. Everybody's heard this before. You want to have disagreements. You want to have back and forth. You want to have pushback. But at the end, you want to be able to hug it out and go to dinner together and still be in one accord. But how can you do that when you're talking about trading a quarterback? How do you get to the point where you're hugging it out I don't know how you do that because somebody wins and somebody loses.
Right.
Somebody's on board with that and somebody's not. Of course it's a bad look that Flacco keeps throwing for 300 and 400 yards. Of course it is. And you can't, but I don't think you can just dismiss it as I mean, Jamar Chase had 42 targets over 2 weeks. This isn't any sort of great design offense.
Right.
This is Joe Flacco saying Jamar Chase is the best receiver in the NFL. I'm going to throw it to that guy 20 times a game and see what he can do. Jamar is one of the best receivers in the game at catches within contact and contested catches. So it don't matter if he's covered. Just throw it to Jamar. Like that's what they're doing. So yes, the talent. What would Flacco's numbers be in Cincinnati if he's throwing to Isaiah Bond and Cedric Tillman? Would he be throwing for 400 yards a game? No.
He's not getting through.
No, of course not. It's who he's throwing to that has a lot to do with it. So, of course, it makes the Browns look bad because everything the Browns do blows up in their face and makes them look bad in the end.
Real quick on that, Jason. And then, Earl, dying to know what you know on this. We trust Bull with a lot of things. And when it comes to his feelings on the coaching situation in Cincinnati, he's very adamant and has been very adamant forever that he thinks Zac Taylor is a horrific head coach. So when you look at this Joe Flacco resurgence again, his second resurgence in 3 years over the last 4 games, he's doing that kind of in spite of a coach that at least one person, Bull, who we know watches the Bengals better than we do, says sucks too. So I like a hard time evaluating it in terms of, is it scheme, is it
they're
players,
not
is it
running
Jimmys,
any
is it Joes?
exotic play. I mean, listen, I don't watch the Bengals every week. I have a hard time believing they're running some exotic schemes. Joe Flacco's dropping back and throwing it to the best receiver in the NFL 23 times a game.
I think it's real simple concepts. I think that they are making it real easy for Joe Flacco to have success to where he don't have to think too much about anything. You know, he completed 5 balls to his third string wide receiver for 66 yards. I asked Mike and Ant, I said, well, who got the team high on the Browns? And it's Fanning with 81. And so that third string wide receiver has 66 yards from Joe Flacco yesterday. Is it the final nail in the coffin for Kevin Stefanski? No, for the simple fact, I feel like, man, like at this point, it's just like we're just overpiling nails. Like the final nail in the coffin probably came at the end of last season or somewhere last season. Now we just add nails on as we get through the 2025 season. When you talk about the actual trade itself, based on everything I've heard from how everything played out, I'm not even sure if Kevin Stefanski knew what the hell was going on until after the fact. I thought it was quite alarming that unsolicited, he said this caught us by surprise. How it was explained and how Joe Flacco broke it down, that the Cincinnati Bengals called Andrew Berry. Andrew Berry said, hold on, let me call Joe. He got Joe on the phone and said, look, I got the Bengals on the phone. You tell me what you want to do. I'm going to holler at you. You want to stay in Cleveland or do you want the opportunity to go play football in Cincinnati? He said, well, hell, if the Bengals want to give me a chance to start, Kevin had already made the choice. Dylan Gabriel, his quarterback here. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to go ahead and go to Cincinnati. And so to me, based on how it was explained, it just seems like Kevin Stefanski didn't get a phone call and get his opinion on the situation at said time.
Now, I'm going to need to get your opinion on this, Jason, because I heard Mary Kay, she was on 92.3 The Fan, and Mary Kay said, I think she was on with Baskin and Phelps, and she said that they came up, the organization, let me make sure I'm correct, the organization made a decision before the season that Kevin Stefanski was going to be more the spokesperson, right? That he was going to be the person that would be talking. Now, given the fact that what Earl just said and McNuggets and how the trade went down, I still don't understand how Andrew Berry does not have a conversation because of what's out there, right? What's out there, Earl is saying, what's out there is looking like y'all traded Flacco. Kevin went in on it. And it wasn't like we didn't have a bunch of moves that they made. So this would have been a perfect opportunity to explain that.
I didn't hear Mary Kay say that. We got out of town last week for a few days, so I dipped out on a lot of this stuff. That is, if that's what the Browns came up with to explain why Andrew didn't talk last week, that is a horrible excuse. Because Kevin is a horrible spokesperson for the organization because he'll never say anything.
Right.
So that is, I mean, that's flimsy. And I think it's a terrible look that AB didn't talk. He should have talked. There have been enough big moves made.
Huge ones.
That he needs to stand up there because it's, I've thought this all the time. It's unfair to make it doesn't matter who the head coach is. The fact that they run that dude out there 4 times a week, 5 times, and make him talk while everybody else hides in the background. I really like the way, we've talked about this, I think I mentioned this before. I like the way that the Guardians do it. When it's in the mud, Chris is out there answering questions. And when it's good, Chris a lot of times hides in the back. Antonetti, of course, I'm talking about, hides in the background. But when it's in the mud and when there's stuff to talk about, whether it's Class A and the gambling thing or trades or it's just not going well, he is out there answering those questions. And that's how it should be. And more organizations need to do that. Jimmy's the only one that tells the truth. Like Haslam's the only one that tells the truth. And he talks twice a year. But he didn't care. Like Jimmy didn't care. He owns a team. Who's going to tell him?
We can't do nothing.
Who's going to tell him to shut up?
I mean, why would I'm just trying to figure out because Andrew has talked, AB has talked every year at the bye. And one of the biggest things is the whole quarterback situation, right? So Kevin is out there, and Kevin has to answer for the Pickett. He got to answer for Gabriel. He got to answer when Shador going to play. He got to answer, hey, when is Joe Flacco? Hey, you keep seeing him throw for 450 yards. He threw for 500 today. What you think about that?
Yeah.
And every single, I'm like, dang, bro. He like at some point, you would think that he shows up and be like, "This was our rationale behind the Joe Flacco thing."
And that's what aggravates me about. That's one of the things that aggravates me about Kevin. His paranoia level seems to be getting worse the longer he's in the job. I thought it would get better the more that he's in there. It's gotten worse. And the fact that he won't say anything about anything.
And zero.
It's like, this is football, okay? You're not hiding the nuclear codes.
the launch codes.
We're talking
This ain't White House down.
we're talking about football, and you suck, and your team sucks, and you've sucked for 2 years, and no one will give an explanation.
Nobody.
And now the GM is hiding under the bed covers. It's a terrible look for a terribly run organization. Like, again, I know everyone thinks like I'm always out here trying to defend Kevin. When is the last time I said they should not fire him? I said I would not fire him, but I've said since the end of last year, you want to fire him, fire him. There's certainly a case to be made for that. This has not been, I think the problems with the Browns, I've been consistent on this, the problems with the Browns run so much deeper than the head coach. You're seeing that play out in real time. No one will take account for this stuff.
Yeah.
No one will come out and talk about it. And the fact that, again, you had a plan at quarterback. You had 2 veterans. You drafted a guy in the 3rd round who wasn't supposed to play, who was supposed to be the developmental guy. Now he's your starter, and the 2 veterans that you gave all the reps to in training camp are both gone.
What
are we doing?
I can't get past the fact that on draft day, it was Kenny Pickett was the one texting draft eligible guys, hey, come on. As he was the starting quarterback,
I mean,
right? So
he never played it down.
But think about this though.
Because he pulled a hamstring.
Because he pulled a hamstring. But think about this though.
They didn't cut his leg off. He pulled a hamstring.
He did all these reps. He never play it down. And when we was all out there at training camp, he was the one who looked the best with Jerry Jeudy, right? Flacco, savvy veteran. We believe we know when Flacco. Now Flacco ain't here. And then you get Jerry Jeudy going to the locker room and say, man, I don't know what's going on around here, right?
And again, I have go on me cut finish.
No, go. So like for me, like, yeah, the issues run much deeper than the head coach. But like for me, Jason, like I'm way past like points per game. I'm way past scheme. I'm way past concepts, right? Because nobody wants to come out here and take accountability, man. To me, one of the core values of having anything healthy when it comes to relationships, associations, business, and in sports, communication and transparency. Nobody inside that organization wants to communicate effectively. Nobody wants to be transparent. And when we get up here on our platform and we assume or we like kind of like come up with these conclusions or these narratives, people want to shoot back at us like we're wrong. But we're only going off the information that we're given. To me, when it comes to Kevin, it just seems like he may or may not have lost some of the players in the locker room.
Oh, I think defensively for sure. I think he's lost some defensive guys.
Like when you got guys like Jerry Jeudy coming out saying that, and you got guys like Grant Delpit talking about, I don't even know what winning feels like, right? It just seems like stuff like that never used to happen early on in Kevin's tenure, and now it's happening now.
Well, they were having success early in his
So
tenure.
to me, it's like, it's hard to have blind faith in a motto and a message and a philosophy when you're consistently losing.
And listen, I always say this. I've been consistent when I be saying, when you talk about the level of paranoia, I always tell Kevin, I said, listen, man, there are things that you can say that will help yourself. Like, it would help you. Like, if you would just communicate and use the media and say, look, man, hey, we're in a tough spot right now. You know, we're in a tough spot. We're trying to prepare 2 rookie quarterbacks. That's a tightrope, people. You know what I'm saying? I got one guy who's playing, and we got a 3rd round pick. He's young. He's playing quicker than we thought he would be playing. So now we got to give him every opportunity. We got another guy who is another 5th round pick that we like and think has a skill set. But how do you get 2 people? We're learning on the fly here. And if he said that, people would be like, I respect that.
But don't come out here and say, oh, I like my wide receiver room.
Yeah, don't tell
just to be a company guy. And to Jason's point, like, we don't know if there's any pushback. Pushback is healthy. Like, back and forth dialogue is healthy. We have it within our own family here at UCSS. If everybody agreed, if everybody got along, if everybody just saw everything the same way, you wouldn't get anywhere. But I'm starting to believe that in private, when they're having these conversations, ain't nobody saying, no, that's not a good idea. Or, no, I don't think we should do that. Like, y'all keep making it seem like that every time somebody says something, if the other person don't agree, they just sit on their hands and just roll with it. And they get in their feelings, and then we see it as fans. Like, based on how they move, how their body language is, anything like that.
Do you think, Jason, that I'm interested in seeing how this thing I won't say devolves, but how it transpires, because I did hear that Kevin ripped into some people after one of the losses, and called some people out, which was eye raising a little bit. Do you think that as this continues, Kevin might start to say, "Man, listen, if I'm going down my way. Y'all gonna have to. I'm gonna do it this way, and this way." Do you think he starts to speak, or is that just not what he's in? That's not his character.
I don't think that it's his character. Usually, he joked about it like every once in a while the Philly comes out, so it's in there. But it's never going to be it's never going to be a weekly thing. That's just not who he is. And again, a couple of years ago, I've said, and I still think that's part of his strength, is when you have an organization as the Browns are. Part of what makes him, I believe, still a good NFL head coach is his even-handedness and his even-keeled. Because when you have emotional, reactionary people in the organization, you need somebody who can hold on to the reins. And there are obstacles within the Browns that don't exist at other NFL franchises. And that's part of the reason why I've defended him, because I just think he's done a good job of managing a lot of the landmines that being the head coach of the Cleveland Browns brings. Again, I'll go back to the quarterbacks. They had a plan for 24 hours, and then they blew their home plan up.
Was it 24 full hours?
I don't even think it was that. Well, I mean, once they had Dylan in place, that was their quarterback.
That was their quarterback.
And Jimmy told you when we left the draft Friday night, drafting Shedeur was not in the plans. Yet Saturday, they draft Shedeur, and now both veterans are gone. And but this is what it's like operating within the Cleveland Browns. Like, it's landmine after landmine that you're constantly trying to navigate. I don't think it's coincidence. I was thinking about this last night at the Cavs. I don't think it's coincidence that the most hands-on owner in town has the worst team in town. It's not even close. The Dolans are completely hands-off.
We don't even see them. I don't know. They're Dr. Claw. I ain't never see them speak.
Dan,
I'll get you, Gadget. I don't know what the heck.
Dan is more involved now than he was 3-4 years ago, but still not anywhere near the level. The Cavs didn't win a championship in 2016 because they had a healthy culture. Cavs won a championship in 2016 because the best player on the planet won them a championship.
Yeah.
That culture was a disaster.
Hey, them boys, they was throwing soup.
I mean, the Cavs have a better foundation and culture now than they did when they won the championship. And I think a big reason for that is because of Dan's health issues. He has pulled back in a lot of his day-to-day operations. He still calls the big shots. He still picks the coaches. He's still like that's just how it is. But on the day-to-day stuff, he is not nearly involved as he was prior to his health issues. And look what the Cavs front office has been able to build without the interference of ownership. The one team in town that has the most interference from ownership is the absolute disaster. That's why I keep saying, guys, the problems with the Browns run so much deeper than the head coach. It's not a head coaching issue so much as it is an organizational, cultural identity issue.
Do you think, this is crazy, I've said this, I don't think in terms of, the quarterback situation and when, Shedeur Sanders plays with Dylan Gabriel, when that operation and whatever that's over, I completely think that it's not going to be Kevin Stefanski that makes the decision. He's going to say, I coach the football team, and as long as I'm here, we going to play who I say play. And for the most part, I think the Cleveland Browns have honored by that.
Yes.
They haven't meddled. But I do think that if it comes to a point, Shedeur Sanders is going to be put in by the owner. They'll call down and say, Kevin, and if that happens, this is the question I got. If that happens, you talked about not coming back from certain things. If he makes that call, is there any coming back from the perspective of the relationship between Kevin Stefanski, Andrew Berry, and Jimmy Haslam if they force his hand on that?
Is there any coming back? Well, I mean,
between their relationship, because they haven't.
It depends on how Shedeur plays, and everybody blames Kevin for running Baker out there when he had the shoulder injury.
Yeah.
That was not Kevin's call. That came from above Kevin. Keep running him out there. They got to make a decision on the contract. Keep running him out there. We got to know, is this guy any good or not? Can we invest $300 million in him or not? So it's been done before. It wouldn't be the first time, but if Shedeur goes out there and balls out, no, I don't think Kevin wants to play Shedeur. I don't think so. I think that's pretty obvious. Is that really groundbreaking?
No.
No.
So if Shedeur goes out there and balls out, and you asked me last week, if Shedeur goes out there and plays great, does Kevin get credit for it? I said no, because Kevin didn't want to play him. So now if Shedeur goes out there and he plays great, no. I think it's probably more reason to fire everybody. And everybody keeps talking about final nail in the coffin. You guys can have all the nails you want. Jimmy's telling you he's not firing the coach. Like he said it again a couple weeks ago. The Deshaun trade was a miss. Kevin's done a good job holding this thing together. The owner keeps telling you he is not firing the coach. So you can have as many nails as you want, and you can pound them on top of each other. That coffin lid ain't closing. The thing that I believe would close the coffin lid is Jackson Dart. Like, Dart is playing really, really well. Our columnist, Ian O'Connor, wrote a column today about how Jackson Dart is going to be the savior of New York football. If that's the case, that is how you fire these guys. Because, like, nobody was talking about Jackson Dart at the top of the first round. I don't care. How many times did I say, I am paying you for your evaluation of this quarterback class. And if you're telling me there's nobody here worth taking, okay, then we're going to punt and we're going to get one next year. But by God, these dudes that we pass on better not hit. And for Dart, and I don't know I don't watch enough of the Giants to know.
The reports are Kevin saw him up close and personal. Is that correct?
I am 99.9% positive that he was in attendance at Pro Day for Ole Miss.
I mean, who's the special teams coach? His name fell out of my head.
Trone, who was his head coach at the Senior Bowl.
Bubba had him at the Senior Bowl all week. So they had plenty of intel on him. So I don't care that, like, the fact that, like, he fell to 25th and nobody was talking about him, I don't care about that. I am paying you as the president or the GM of this franchise, and I'm paying you as the head coach to evaluate this talent. And I don't care what anybody else thinks. I don't care if someone thinks that this is a second-round pick or a late first or whatever. If you're telling me this guy's a franchise quarterback and we can win with him, we're going to take him. And the fact that they said no, I don't like – and the whole Gabriel thing, like, there's no other great quarterbacks. And what other great quarterbacks are playing well in this draft that they passed on? Like, Cam Ward struggled at the top. You couldn't get to him anyway. Dart's the one. I keep telling you, Dart is the one. But other than that, Tyler Shuck, we'll see.
So I got a hypothetical question to that, because I'm really curious to know how that conversation may have went. Because you just said, I am paying you to evaluate this quarterback position as the president of football operations and you as the head coach. We talked earlier in this segment about them being lock and step when it comes to decision making, or if we don't know if somebody is giving healthy pushback or not, right? If they seen Jackson Dart this up close and personal, right, and it's been reported that up until now, Kevin Stefanski had never gotten the opportunity to pick his guy. Like, when you go to that third round, like, how do we not know that Andrew Berry didn't say, you know what, I like Dart. I think Dart has X, Y, and Z. But Kevin was like, you know, like, there's something about Dylan Gabriel that I absolutely like, right? And let's say that they couldn't really come to a fair conclusion. But at the end of the day, Kevin got this I never got the opportunity to get my guy. So what if he picked Dylan Gabriel, not because he believed in Dylan Gabriel, but because he wanted to finally award Kevin with his guy?
I have no idea. I have no idea what Andrew Berry felt about Jackson Dart.
Right.
I don't know. I do think Kevin did want Dylan. But again, he was picking over some pretty spoiled groceries all along. And Dart's the one that could be the guy that you missed. That he was right there for you. You had a chance. You could have traded down. You could have traded down again. And you still would have gotten him.
Traded up to get him. Remember, they had the 34th pick. The pick after the Browns in the second round. That's the pick they traded, essentially, plus a future asset to go from 34 to 25 to take Jackson.
So what's the future asset, Mike? You know?
I could tell. It's like it was a 34th and a future second or third.
You went from 2 to 5. You could have traded down again to 8 or 9 or whatever and taken him there just to make sure, because you don't want to screw around. If you think that's your franchise quarterback, take him.
Right.
How many times did we say that during take him? But clearly they didn't feel like that was the guy.
This was the compensation, by the way, for Jackson Dart. So they moved up to 25. They gave up 34 and 99. So a second-round pick, 7 picks later, or 9 picks later, and then the 99th pick, a third-round pick, and a third-round pick next year. So 2 3s and a 2 to get back into the first.
So and again, I've banged on Jimmy a lot for how that they operate, how they function, but I don't know how if we'll see how Dart plays the rest of the year. But and I don't know how Jimmy views Jackson Dart, but if Jimmy looks at Jackson Dart and goes, man, I'd like to have him, that'd have been a pretty good quarterback to have here. I don't know how you can continue to trust these guys if you miss on Dart. How do you trust them to take the next guy?
Real quick on the Dart evaluation, too. Shout out to Evan419, who just texted me these 2 tweets. I don't know how he found these so quickly. But Albert Breer tweeted on 3/28 that one of the more interesting attendees to Ole Miss Pro Day was Kevin Stefanski. That was the same day that Jimmy Haslam and Barry were looking at Abdul Carter. So same day, Stefanski went to evaluate the quarterback. The other 2 went to evaluate Carter. And then on 4/8/25, so 3 weeks before the draft, the Browns hosted Jackson Dart on a top 30 visit. So between the Senior Bowl, attending Pro Day, and hosting Dart on a top 30 visit.
They had plenty of
That's
information.
plenty of information to make a decision on whether or not he could be the guy you really
And,
want.
and maybe
right, man. That's nasty work, as G say, man. Like,
and maybe Dart collapses over this. I don't know. We got,
but we don't believe that, though, do we?
Stay healthy. The dude plays reckless in a fun way, but he can be concussed and be seriously hurt on literally every run he has.
I don't know internally what they truly felt about him, but I'm just saying, if Dart turns out to be a franchise quarterback and he turns out to be the guy that turns around the Giants, that's a bigger mark against this regime than anything you want to throw out in terms of stats, in terms of offense, in terms of play calling, because there's no talent on this offense. None. I'll die on that hill. But it's evaluation, and it's trying to rebuild this offense. And if you can't identify the pieces that do hit in the NFL, that to me is a bigger indictment than anything you can talk about in play calling and anything else.
A bit of breaking news. The Cleveland Browns have designated wide receiver Cedric Tillman for return to practice. So Cedric Tillman, say what you want about Cedric T.
Everybody got a nickname.
We got a little upgrade at that point.
T.
And the club has also released safety Devontae Casey. So a little news and notes from around the league.
DK.
Beautiful. We're going to get to our next topic, guys, after a quick word from our friend Cody.
I'm Cody.